Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing what might be in the top 10, possibly even the top 3 list of greatest reversos ever made. This is the icon of Jaeger-LeCoultre, but in a rare and exquisite form. You're looking at the Reverso Art Deco. Double-sided, both exquisite, but this is where the action happens on the movement side of the watch. Now, this model was made from about 1992 to 2003, and we know because this one comes with an extract from the archives that identifies its year of production as 2003. Let's flip back over to the primary dial so you can see what you're getting. Salmon on one side, and of course, I would argue Art Deco on one side and Art Nouveau on the other, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. In terms of size, the watch is 26.3 millimeters wide. It's 9.8 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It is 42.1 millimeters, and it has a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And I have to say, on a strap that's fairly broken in, it's amazing how much easier it is for me to wear a strap watch. I often show you watches with brand new straps that are so stiff they appear to be shrinking my wrist to a baby size. This is a better representation of what a flexible broken-in strap looks like on a human wrist. So I could recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, considerably smaller than my 16. It's relatively flat. It does have a sloped flank. It will slide under a dress cuff, and here's your over the top, where you can see I've got plenty of clearance between the edge of the lug and the edge of my wrist. This watch features a fascinating strap. It's a combination of shell cordovan horsehide, calfskin, and then textile. It is a Fagliano designed strap, so you can see it's designed by Casa Fagliano of Hurlingham in Argentina. And yes, Hurlingham is a place in Argentina. There's a lot of British influence in Argentina. So taking a quick look, pull tab spring bars, you can easily remove it from the case without tools, and it's matched by a white gold pin buckle that is correct to the model and correct to the brand. Taking a look at the case, you can see the Reverso has always been more shapely and more curvaceous and complex than it appears online. If this is the only shot you see of a Reverso, you might think it's a lot like a tank, that it's just a perfect rectangle, but it's got quite a few sophisticated curves, squared off, diminishing conical lugs. It has these gadroons or strakes that wrap all the way around, sort of a barrel vaulted profile, and of course a very complicated case design. There are 50 individual parts of this case, and while it may not seem impressive to say it's 30 meters water resistant, prior to the 80s, because of the complexity of the case, no Reverso had ever been water resistant, so 30 meters here is quite impressive. It's a gray gold watch, which means it's a type of white gold that never needs to be rhodium plated. It's the good stuff. It's white all the way through, one color, even if it gets scratched, the same color as underneath. The original Reverso was created in the 1930s, if you believe the legend, for polo players who were shattering the crystals on their watches. Once upon a time, the purpose for the rotating case was that you would have metal on one side and then the crystal on the other, and you would rotate the crystal out of harm's way when you were engaged in sport. Well, since the 1990s and the rebirth of the Reverso in earnest, there were some fits and starts in the 80s, but 1991, with the 60th anniversary Reverso and the arrival of this Grande Taille case shape, that's where the modern Reverso started. And at that point, it became pretty clear that the reversing case was now a feature of a dress watch rather than a sports watch. So the reversible case became a platform for double-sided complications and for elaborate display casebacks, which is how we get to the Art Deco element. Truth be told, this is more Gustav Klimt Art Nouveau pre-Art Deco. The forms are not quite as machine-age, rectilinear, hard, or futurist severe as Art Deco often was. You could see these are more fluid in form, and you could appreciate that all the engraving is by hand, so no two of these will ever be exactly alike. Somewhere around 900 of these were made in rose gold. The white gold model you see right here is the one to own aesthetically from my standpoint, because I like the salmon dial with white metal, but also because they only made 200 in white gold, so this is by far the scarcer of the two variants. Taking a look, we have a dial comprised of a rosette center, a sort of dental pattern outboard. We have faceted applique dart-style indices with two cabochons at 9 and 3, the JL logo, and then half-frosted Dauphine-style hands, so they contrast well against the dial base. Small seconds, present and correct. Flip back to the reverse side, and what's fascinating here is that it's the basic 822, which arrived back in the 1990s for the Grande case. By the way, when I say Grande, it suggests that it's the large size, but it was the large size by early 90s standard, back when the Classique, which was about 38 millimeters lug-to-lug, that was the original Reverso size. So this is big, but this is only 90s big. Today, this is one of the smallest Reverso cases. But the movement, as you can see, if you follow the cut line of the bridges, you can see the original size and shape of it, and it's a perfect fit for this case. So 21 joules, manual wind, 3 hertz beat rate, and it's got a 45-hour power reserve. Getting really close, you can see the barrel has been skeletonized, and that the cover of the barrel is now the interlocking back-to-back JL logo that you see on the crown. You see that right there and on the dial? Then you look at the spokes, if you will, of the barrel, and you can see a very cool watch. And then you'll appreciate that the tops of the bridges have been rose gilded and then mirror finished around the engravings. So the engravings are on mirrored surfaces. We have fired blue screws, not chemically dyed, but fired. And if you look really carefully, this is a feature I haven't highlighted in my previous showcases of the watch, but take a look at the bridge for the escapement. Underneath the regulator, you can even see that these substructures have been hand engraved. A very impressive feat on components that difficult to see and that small. One of the greatest Reversos, and possibly the greatest version of that greatest of Reversos. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.